I believe that there's absolutely no doubt that the hottest political office in Kenya by far, is that of principal deputy or principal assistant to the President of the Republic of Kenya. In Kenya, it was vice president before. These days, it's deputy president. First of all, before I go any further, my sincere apologies for being off air over the last 48 hours or so. I decided to take a small break to recharge my batteries, because I'm sure you all know I have quite a punishing schedule on this channel. But perhaps punishing is the wrong word to use, because I believe I was born to do this. I enjoy it. It's in me. It's in my blood. But as the popular song from the days when I was young says, even lovers need a holiday far away from each other. I had to take time off to recharge my batteries. Now I hope that this recording and the other videos which are going to follow in quick succession will show evidence that actually my batteries have been recharged and that they are full. You're the one who's going to say, the verdict is yours. Anyway, the truth is, the idea of an executive president is not very popular in the Western world. And what that means is that we have very few examples to refer to from developed democracies. But in America, over the years, the vice president has mostly been ignored. They always end up feeling so close to power, yet so far away. Usually, they're relegated to solving tricky political problems on the ground on behalf of the president. Usually they will come from an area of the country where the president is not very popular. And so if the president of the United States wants to push through a pet legislation through the House, the vice president will be called in to rally the troops, especially from representatives in areas of the country where the president is weak. The duties of a vice president are normally very vague. His job description is very vague in most constitutions. The 2010 Kenyan constitution went to great pains to try and define that job a little more clearer. But they found very little room to maneuver. So they just ended up with doing something which they felt was important, to protect the deputy president from the political happenings of the past. And so they made sure that it would be impossible, for the president to actually dismiss his deputy. And they did the same with the governors. And so, looking at it a little more deeply, they really did not change the circumstances of a deputy president in Kenya. It is still the office where you choose how powerful you want to become, barring the other usual obstacles. It still remains the office whereby survival instincts are key. However, the case of Deputy President William Ruto has been very different. Because in actual fact, between 2013 and late 2016, there are many who believe that in fact DP William Ruto was the president. There was no major decision the president of Kenya made before 2016 that did not have to go through Deputy President William Ruto. He was the real brains behind the presidency. And he was very tight with the president. And very few Kenyans noticed when things changed in late 2016. And one of the reasons was that the Jubilee ruling party was facing a formidable opponent in the upcoming general elections of 2017. And so, if you have a fight with your wife in the house and armed gangsters try to gain entry into the house, you're not going to continue the fight. You'll have to postpone it, get rid of the external threat, and then come back to your domes. That very accurately describes exactly what happened in Kenya. And that is why after the handshake of March 9th, 2018, the handshake that effectively ended the 2017 election controversies and manenos, the domestic issue of the president and his deputy quickly re-emerged. And so, contrary to what many Kenyans believe, it is not Raila Odinga who caused this issue or this problem. It was already there long before the elections. Simply put, this thing has been going on for a long time. It did not start after March 2018. And that is why I believe it is very soon coming to an end. And obviously, when it comes to an end, there'll be winners and there'll be losers, right across the board. And I believe that if the end plays out as most people have predicted, Kenya will have a serious problem. That is, if Deputy President William Samoei Ruto loses this political battle of his life, there's going to be a huge problem in Kenya. I talk about that at length in my latest Club 1999 sensitive video. Anyway, whatever happens, Deputy President William Ruto has already gone down in history as one of the real survivors of this office. Indeed, currently, his only competition is former Vice President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, who ended up being president and is now former president of the Republic of Kenya. Now, Moi took in a lot of, what shall I call it, feces that belong to a cow. And even human ones as well. Now, there's a story of what I can only refer to on this family channel as the booty search that he had to undergo and persevere. Now, a human being, I believe, cannot be humiliated beyond that. An ordinary human being, let alone a vice president of the Republic of Kenya. Now, if you have no idea what a booty search is, it's in my Club 1999 sensitive video where I describe it in detail. And when Moi took over power, he forgave very many people. He forgave virtually everybody, except the man who was behind the booty search. Now, that man's name was James Mungai. He was a provincial police chief for the Rift Valley province. And as arrangements were being made to swear in Daniel Toroitich Moi as the second president of Kenya, James Mungai was in disguise and in a car speeding towards the Ethiopian border. Now, James Mungai ended up coming back into the country, I think about a year or two later, and he was jailed. He was jailed for a couple of months, almost a year. I guess the man who bullied Moi the most just couldn't get away with it. Now, it is pretty fascinating because shortly after the independence of Kenya, my political lecturer was in an overseas training program alongside Bwana James Mungai. I believe on that training mission were other prominent characters like long-serving spy chief James Kanyotu. Now, my political lecturer, up to the day he died, always had a lot of respect for James Kanyotu. I believe this respect was beyond what Bwana Kanyotu deserved. Anyway, he told me that he believed Bwana James Mungai was very closely related to former President Jomo Kenyatta. Where did he get that information? From their talk, discussions, and the way the guy used to talk while they were overseas on training. And I believe the arrogance and impunity which this mayor police chief of the Rift Valley used to display proves beyond any reasonable doubt that he was related to the first president of Kenya, very closely related. As Hezron would put it, mtu ambaye anasimamisha traffic kwa mji ya wakubwa. He was of course referring to the very frequent times James Mugai would cause traffic snarl-ups in Nakuru so that he can cross on his horse. Yeah, the guy was into horses. And indeed, Nakuru was mji wa kubwa in those days, because this is the time where President Jomo Kenyatta spent most of his time. This was Daniel Arap Moi's hometown, yeah, etc., etc. And so naturally, for somebody to behave like they owned the country, they owned the town, in such a town, that's not normal. Now, as fate would have it, I almost met James Mugai in person. I knocked on a gate somewhere in Mombasa, Nyali area, and when the gate was opened, I could hear somebody shouting in Kikuyu from inside the house. I was later told that that was in fact James Mugai. Yeah, I still believe he lives peacefully somewhere in Mombasa, Nyali area, to this day. Anyway, I believe if there was a competition for survivors of deputy president or vice president, former President Daniel Arap Moi will be almost impossible to defeat in such a contest. He took in a lot. Just this morning, as I was putting together my notes for this video, Hezron reminded me of the Lena Moi story. Yeah, there are many younger Kenyans who ask, "Aye, you mean Moi had a wife?" Actually, he did. Actually, Lena Moi is the only woman, yeah, to ever be asked by the President of the Republic of Kenya for a dance. And she said, no. Apana. Now. I mean, how do you do that? Because seriously, how can the President of the Republic of Kenya, yeah, in the days before the 2010 Constitution, ask you for a dance and you say no? And it is a public function. People are watching. Yeah? People are watching as you embarrass the president. But actually, the president was not embarrassed. So let me just tell you the whole story for those of you who don't know it. It was during a state function in Nakuru, yeah, end of year Christmas party. And as usual, the president opened the dance, yeah, with Mama Ngina. And following protocol, next was the vice president. But Lena refused, so the vice president had to pick another partner. Now, it is said that Lena had already heard stories about how her husband was having an affair with another woman, a senior police officer, yeah, belonging to the house of Mumbi. And so, Moi decided to open the dance with this other woman, not knowing that Lena knew. And this was too much for poor Lena. She saw red. Now, if you're in a security detail, it's very easy to control a woman who's trying to cause trouble. But if that woman is a Kalenjin, it's not easy. And to make matters worse, she's the second lady, yeah, wife of the vice president of the Republic of Kenya. Now, Jomo was always very observant and very quick, so he tried to cool down things by asking Lena for a dance. Now, I don't know if Lena saw who this person was who was asking her for a dance. And if she did, she didn't care. Now, I believe this is the incident which triggered Moi to make the decision of banishing his wife, Lena Moi, to his farm in Rongai, where she remained literally under house arrest, or rather with her movements limited. It was too much for Moi to take. This was around 1966-1967, and Moi was receiving more than enough embarrassment from the Kiambu Mafia. The situation was so bad that Moi had to go on a crash course of Kikuyu, because usually as they waited for the president to come in for cabinet meetings, members of the Kiambu Mafia in the cabinet would start making fun of Moi in the Kikuyu language. During the many international delegations from Kenya, led of course by Moi, because Kenyatta never traveled out of the country, Njoroge Mungai would rudely take over as head of the delegation. He would say that this man Moi is embarrassing the country. Why? Because he can't speak English properly. You know, the late Dr. Njoroge Mungai got his degree, his medical degree, from Stanford University in the United States. And so, on those foreign trips, the Vice President of the Republic of Kenya would be forced to take directions from the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Njoroge Mungai. By the way, he was also related to Jomo, a nephew to Jomo, I believe. And there are many other things which happened to Moi. So, in the wake of all this harassment and bullying, which Moi was fighting very hard to contain, he just couldn't take the extra embarrassment of his wife. His short-tempered wife causing scenes in public. And a wife who was stubbornly refusing to adapt, like Mama Ngina Kenyatta, to adapt and start behaving like the wife of the Vice President of the Republic of Kenya. So because she was a further embarrassment to him in a situation which was already very tricky for Moi banished her. But clearly it was not personal, because when Lena Moi passed on in 2004, she was buried at Moi's home in Kabarak. And it is said Moi has given instructions that when the time comes for him to go back to his maker, he wants to be laid to rest right next to Lena. Gosh, I really got carried away there. My sincere apologies. Back to DP Ruto. The recent visit, some people call it handshake, between Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru and His Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga was a very strong political statement. And it was also a very strong signal. Signaling what? Signaling that the big heavyweights in Central Province who had rallied behind DP Ruto and his 2022 bid have suddenly switched camp. They obviously know something that we don't know. Then a few days ago, Musalia Mudavadi, the leader of the Amani Party, started talking again about people who give huge donations to churches. And he was focusing on the source of their funds. He was obviously referring to the deputy president. Then at about the same time, legislators from the Rift Valley start making a lot of noise about maize. They even tell us that the deputy president has a huge farm of maize outside the country. Folks, don't fool yourself for a minute that all these manenos are not related. In my view, it is the clearest of signs that the enemies of DP William Ruto are circling in for the kill. And don't forget that when all this is going down, we are suddenly told that the ICC, the International Criminal Court at The Hague, has been receiving a flood of new evidence connected to DP William Ruto and the clashes of 2008. Now, even if you believe in coincidences, believing that all these things are coincidences happening at around the same time, would really be stretching it. So, what is the game plan here? What exactly is the end game? How is DP Ruto going to respond? Because respond, he will. In fact, respond, he must. And he's already doing it. Now, bear in mind that we were all criticizing the deputy president, including myself, for the statement he made recently, telling the Kalenjin nation that it was time they started planting something else, avocados, etc., etc., avocados which the Chinese want. To quote his precise and exact words, the deputy president said, "Watu wa China hawataki mahindi." Wanataka avocado, nyama, Anyway, my point is, we're all castigating the deputy president. I have stopped for a while and look at this more deeply, like I did. The latest in this May saga is that the Rift Valley legislators have rejected the president's offer of 2,300 shillings per bag of maize. Yeah, that is what the cash-strapped government wants to buy maize at. Now, by making his recently seemingly careless statements, what the deputy president has done, he has removed himself from the maize debate. And clearly, his plan is to leave the president on the firing line. How do you bring DP Ruto into this discussion? He has already said people should plant avocado and supply meat to the Chinese. They should forget maize. So how do you bring an avocado man and a meat man into the maize discussion? Of course, the anti-Ruto camp had already made their move earlier, by dropping the bombshell that the deputy president allegedly owns a farm of over 500,000 acres in the Congo. Now, this kind of information is not very easy to get. Not even an MP can have access to such information. It's not easy. My guess, and I believe I'm right, is that this information originated from very high levels of the National Intelligence Service. And of course, the information has been leaked, or provided with a certain objective in mind. And that objective cannot be good for Deputy President William Ruto. The long and short of what I'm saying is that there's a very fierce battle ongoing at the highest level of government. And there are a few other rather shocking things going down. They're all in my Club 1999 latest sensitive video. Just use the email address you see on your screens right now, and you'll get an automated response giving you full details on how to join. And as I've always said, and I give you my word, you're not going to be put on a mailing list. Okay? Nobody is going to bother you with emails trying to sell you stuff after you send that email for the details you need. It's a one-off. This is a video you cannot afford to miss. Therefore become a member right away. Friends, things are hot in Kenya right now. Even if on the surface this is not obvious, trust me, iko maneno. And to me, my biggest worry is the fallout. You know, when two elephants fight, it's the grass that gets damaged. And these are two elephants fighting. Of course, one looks much mightier than the other one. But at the end of the day, the brunt of the consequences will be taken by ordinary Kenyans. Just the way it has always been. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.